I'm going to start the recording in 3 seconds. I'll count it down, and then Shake, you can start us off however you want.
Okay.
Or, yeah, what's up, Jason?
No, I was just going to ask, what are you guys, just so I can know before we record what you guys are going to, what is the main thing you're going to be asking? Just how I met Shaker and
Guelph basketball. For me, it's Guelph basketball, your bio, your story, future stuff, top 5 players in Guelph history. Just Guelph.
Guys, you know what? I've been so far away from Guelph, I won't even remember these guys. Don't put those pressure on me, man.
I wanted your story also. I was going to ask you a couple of things. Like, I'm actually interested in how you got interested in basketball in Guelph, because when I got to Guelph, I wouldn't say that it was a true basketball town at that time, but it did become one. And you were certainly a basketball figure in the town at that time. Certainly you had a love for the game, and I wondered where you had developed that in Guelph.
Well, yeah, you know what, man, I would equate it to you two guys, for sure. You know, I had the lucky opportunity to go to Kentucky and for a couple summers, but my love of basketball really started with just working with you and you know, if that's what I kind of thought was going to be thing, I would be, you know, because there was no Shake True Hoop when I started with you.
No kidding. Yeah, but I really feel that you had already developed a love for the game.
Sure.
You know, I met you after your Kentucky trips, and I'm not sure. Before. You know, like before.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
actually,
okay, so Durham. So we wrote
down in my life. I wrote down 3 things here that you said to me that I still kind of use. And one of the things you said to me, you know, it became so prophetic in my life, is that we were sitting down once, and I was probably 16 years old, and you said to me, "Hey, you know, the best education in life is traveling and experiencing other places." And I know I'm in year 23 of being overseas, so so I mean. Okay. A lot of things that you have said, I actually was telling my wife, because I wasn't sure what you guys wanted to talk about, really have affected, you know, had a profound effect on my life. And you know, I'm very thankful and appreciative.
Well, so you know. Jay, can I jump in quick with a question? I was just thinking, you know, Jay, can you give us a little bit of breakdown of your bio? And like, again, obviously with the travel that you touched on with Shake, like where you been, what have you done since you've left Guelph and the mighty Gales of GCBI and the Shake True program?
You know, after my education, I was lucky. The defensive football coach, Blake Nill, who's now the head coach at UBC, his wife and I worked in the fitness room together. And actually my last year at university, I went out for football, and this is before all concussion movies, and I hit a guy and I damaged my frontal lobe, and I wasn't able to play. And I was, you know, kind of boo-booing all over, you know, university down that year. It was my last year. And, you know, she kind of put it to me and said, "Hey man, get your life together." And her and Coach Neil had said to me, like, "Look, you know, there's a whole chapter that you're ready to begin." And this school from Mexico, northern Mexico, came and was looking for teachers, and you didn't need a teaching degree. I had been in Mexico 2 summers prior working with poor people in the state of Morelos and Guerrero. And so I applied for the job, and I ended up getting it. Ironically, I played university football down there. I taught kindergarten, and my wife, who's Canadian, she was working at the school, and I met her. We came back to Canada, got our teaching degrees, and then went back to Mexico. And then from Mexico, we were in the Philippines. And from the Philippines, Dominican Republic. And then from Dominican, went to Indonesia. And then from Indonesia, we're in Cairo, Egypt. To Beijing, China. And right now we are in Warsaw, Poland.
That's quite plethora of different countries, many of which you had to learn a different culture and a different language.
A lot of times, yep.
You know, I think that's fantastic. And how did that play out as important in your life? The ability to pick up communication skills in different languages.
Well, most of the international schools, international schools around the world, most the language in the school is English. You know, we're basically like private schools overseas. I've had the opportunity to teach, and now I'm an athletic director. You know, most of the kids are either diplomats or quite wealthy here in the country, and expats of families that work in industries in the particular country. So, but I mean, it's been an amazing opportunity, and I'm super thankful. And I've just been lucky to take opportunities, and I've always been appreciative and try to seize the moment as best I could.
Right. Hey, look, you've been so heavily involved in basketball throughout your life. What are your most cherished moments with the round ball?
I think as a player, I started kind of later. I was playing hockey in the city at the time, and my cousin came to Guelph. He was playing basketball. He actually played with Terry on the University Guelph team for a year. Greg McKay, aka Cuff Dunk, and
Cuff Dunk.
and
right, I remember.
I was a ninth grader, and I had played basketball, but it was always kind of a secondary sport for hockey, and I just fell in love, going to watch the practices, and it's where I met you too. And I really just, fell in love, and it's probably to my parents' dismay because they both loved me playing hockey, and I was pretty good. But I just fell in love with basketball, and I wanted to work, and I was very lucky to meet you. And my summer of my ninth grade going into my 10th grade year, I met you, and I said, hey, is there any way you could give me some tips? And, every day every day we ended up meeting, and I was working on my shot, and I really came from, I had to start really from ground zero. I didn't know how to make a left-hand layup, but I became addictive, and I wanted to work. And there was days up at the University of Guelph, I would be by myself, and I would shoot, and if you came in the gym, you'd always give me an hour, and everything that you taught me, I would, it would be something that as soon as you left, I'd always kind of just keep doing it. I wanted to get better. And, I said to myself, if my cousin can make university basketball or college basketball, I'm going to do the same. And then I just, that was kind of my goal. And I kind of just worked, and every day I have a daughter now who's 15, and she's into basketball. And I just said to her, you want to get good, you gotta work every day. And that's what I did.
Yeah, I remember her coming to camp. I hope she's doing very well. And I think that's instrumental in anyone's development, is that desire. And you were certainly one of the first kids that I actually saw that had that desire to put in the work. And I was really happy to see you go to Durham. Terry?
Well, I would think that's a perfect segue, because I just wanted to recognize the fact that Jason was the first scholarship player ever out of Shake True Hoops who went to Durham College on a scholarship to play after, starring at Guelph Collegiate. I have another quick question just for you, Jason. In your time at Guelph, who was your best matchup, and who was the guy that you never wanted to match up against when you played?
In high school?
In high school.
I always kind of, at that time, I thought Lyndon Phillip was a really good player out of Ross. And I always kind of, when I worked out, I always kind of, in my mind, I don't know, it was like, I remember my father was a big Marvin Hagler fan, and he always would talk about war, going to war with yourself. And, in the summer I work out, and I would always think like, what's Lyndon Phillip doing? Because, he was a good player at the time and athletic. And So that's what I would always, I still am. I don't do anything kind of half speed, and I can be a little intense. So, I'd be in there in that gym, and I'd be thinking, Lyndon Phillip or Joe Blow, and that's just what pushed me. And I always kind of had a chip on my shoulder, and I think that drove me. So I was just out to try to get everybody, and not in a bad way. That's kind of the mojo that kind of drove me, and it kind of still does to this day, to be honest with you.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember Dave Hayward was a big fan of Lindon's. I remember Dave Haywood was a big fan of Lindon's also, and I'm sure he got the better of him on occasions.
Yeah. No, it's Lyndon was a good player, and
Lyndon ended up playing at York, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe he did.
Yeah, I actually remember when I got recruited by Durham, and a lot of us owe it to Terry. I remember I went to Grad Stars, and Lyndon was there as well, and it was interesting. Ben Berstones, who played at Guelph, was an assistant coach there. And I don't think he recognized me, and Terry had put in a good word for me. But I had a really good game. I think I hit 4 or 5 threes in the game at Grad Star. And what the sad thing was, guys, and here I've been in education for 23 years. I'm an administrator now. My marks were so poor. I'm very proud of how hard my daughter works in basketball, but I'm even more proud of how hard she works in school. And, I think it's a lesson to any kid that you don't have the grades, a lot of teams or schools, they won't look at you, and you become a liability. And I was very fortunate. Durham College, I always say, when people ask me what school did you go to, or I always say I'm an alumni of Durham College, because I felt not just with basketball, but the teachers there. Shout out to Pat Whaley, one of my professors there, who was just an amazing, just an instrumental person in my life. That first time in education, someone saying like, you can go to university, man. You just got to believe in yourself, and you got to put the right foot forward. And I think that's a huge lesson that I'm glad my daughter's not learning it the way I did. And but I'm very thankful for everything I learned off the court at Durham College. Really changed my life academically. I have 2 master's degrees now, and I would have never ever. I would have never gotten that if I didn't go to Durham College. And I've said thank you many a times to Terry for kind of helping lead the way. And to be honest, I had a few other schools talking to me, but Durham College, man, really was where I wanted to go. And I was super lucky my year. Ben ended up not being an assistant coach, and Peter Gordon became an assistant coach. And Peter ended up being, just like Shaker, a huge mentor to me. He was a great assistant coach. I don't think I've ever been yelled at more in my life. He knew my favorite player was Rex Chapman, and he said Rex Chapman and myself, we loved every shot that we took. Just they didn't always go in. And so, but Peter was a fantastic person in my life, and I have to be honest. I've been very lucky in every chapter of my life. I've had people like, Shaker and yourself, and then Peter, Otis Delaney, just a lot of people that just helped me. And I'm really appreciative and thankful.
Okay.
Yeah, well, certainly those are some great stories, and I'm happy that that's transpired for you. Can you tell us a little bit of your travels abroad and your basketball abroad? Like, I believe you were in China, you mentioned.
Yep.
And
yeah, I've had a great experience. After playing, I got into coaching, and for 16 summers, really long before kind of the Vinsanity kind of age of Toronto basketball grew. I was going down to basketball camps in the U.S., like 5 Star and Syracuse, and Cade Scope High Potential Camp in Kentucky, which I went to as a player. And I was very fortunate to go to Morgan Wooten's camp, and I worked there for 14 summers. I had a nice relationship with Morgan Wooten, God rest his soul, and his son Joe. And, it helped me, I've coached basketball in 7 countries, and it's been an amazing experience. I think the hardest place I've ever had to coach was, in Southeast Asia and Indonesia, where it was, very developing. But, kids all over the world, man, they love basketball. And it doesn't matter if you're playing basketball at the University of Guelph basketball courts, or down in Willow Road, or, kids, they just want to learn and get better. And, I've had some awesome experiences with kids literally from all over the world.
You mentioned Southeast Asia. Is that when you're in the Philippines, they've got some pretty intense pro leagues there.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if you ever went to see any of those games.
I went, professional games. I think I saw one in the Philippines. The Filipinos love basketball, man. During the rainy season, they'll play in 2 feet of water and shoot on baskets. And I had an opportunity to see Stephon Marbury play when I worked at the International School of Beijing. I partnered up, and we actually had NBA China. We worked with NBA China, and then Yao Ming. Actually had a chance to meet and bring Yao Ming to our school. Classy individual. It was an unbelievable experience to have him and have a school at our school. It was a pretty cool experience, just getting to meet him. Super down to earth, humble person. So, I could probably talk for an hour. Dominican Republic with some crazy opportunities of coaching, and China was really neat. Cairo. So it's the same sport, man. Everyone kind of just loves and does it the same way. Kids are passionate about it all over the world.
What was the biggest culture difference you ran into?
Biggest cultural difference? Well, you know what? I got to be honest. I never really went too many places when I was younger. I'm from a blue collar family. And so Mexico was pretty easy transition. I had worked with the poor people. But when I went to the Philippines, man, I had a lot of things to learn, about the other side of the world and cultural differences. So I think when I first went to Asia, it was really a huge learning curve for me. Again, I was lucky. I ended up meeting a man named Dr. Dick Kreitzar. He was a big person in the international school world, and kind of came from an upbringing like me, and really took me under his wing and kind of taught me a few things of diplomacy in regards to being overseas. And it really was a learning curve. Like, I gotta be honest, I thought, if you would have asked me before I got into international teaching what was like one of the grandest places I ever went, I'd probably say Lexington, Kentucky. So, I really wasn't seasoned, and I'm thankful for meeting Dr. K, not only personally but professionally. But there's so many different things in regards to culture, and I think it's one of the favorite things I love about my family's life is, going to a new place and just experiencing different things. A lot of times people who don't leave Canada, think everything in Canada is so great, and it is. I'm so thankful. But, there's a lot of cool places around the world, and I'm thankful to have experienced many of them.
So I'm going to ask a question, just put you on the hot seat here a little bit. In your opinion, and your time, who are the top 5 Guelph basketball players of all time?
Oh, you know what, guys? I've been away from Guelph so long.
No, in your time.
In my time, I can't even. To be honest, I can't even. I always kind of, when I played basketball at the University of Guelph, there was guys that were older than me, and I can't. Carlos, I can't even remember his name. You know what? You're putting me on the hot seat, but a lot of these guys I can't remember. I've been so many places. I've coached here. I've done this. Some of the guys, I think Lindon Phillip was, he always kind of stood out. Lindon Phillip. I gotta be honest. I can't remember.
Harry Freelink.
Oh, I'll tell you what. Serge Bolzin was in a class by himself. I mean, he was a fantastic player. I mean, and a great person. You know, he's one of the first guys I met when my cousin was playing. And, you know, one thing I'll say about Serge, you know, at the time, he probably was one of the best players at Guelph before the Tim Maus and Shakers and Hammonds came. And he was always such a humble guy. You know, he'd be swearing in Italian on the court, and but he was always he was always such a humble person that would, you know, you'd be shooting in the gym, and there Serge Bolzon would come, and, you know, he'd be rebounding your shots, and he was a good person and, you know, a great player. I know Bob Sharp from the past was a very, you know, notable name, and but I'm not, you know, guys, I'm not trying to avoid being on the hot seat. I just can't really remember. You know,
do you remember the Bibbies? Do you remember the Bibbies from Centennial?
I don't. I'm being honest.
No.
You know, I'll tell you this. I played with John Tate, who was younger than me, who was a big kid. Terry coached us for a year. And, you know, I don't think he was one of the best, but he had a lot of potential. He ended up becoming a pro rugby player. And, you know, I really can't remember a lot.
So I'll change the question. I'll ask this question. Besides myself and Shake, who's your favorite Guelph character? Just character in general.
Well, you know, I have a lot. You know, I can tell you this. In the summers that I played at University of Guelph, you know, aside from you two guys, you know, there's a whole cast of characters. There's guys like Darren Thomas, who I really looked up to, and you know, if there was a game of pickup, I'd always try to guard him, even though he'd kill me. Ray Darling was, you know, a classy person and an excellent player. And again, I would try to guard him. Chris Montford was a football player, but was an incredible athlete. Then you had, you know, there was a whole cast of characters that John Leacock and Dwight from Trinidad, and, you know, they'd be playing the calypso music in the gym. And
what about our favorite propeller man? He's my favorite character.
Hey, Dino's, you know, let's face it, Dino's a legend in Guelph. Commitment to everybody. Probably one of the worst referees I've ever seen in the world. I hope he doesn't see this, but he's probably the worst referee. No, I'm only kidding you. Hey, listen, I'll tell you this. You need Dinos like this in your city, in your schools, your communities. The guy he does so much for the community. I knew Dino when I was younger. He was he's an incredible guy. I mean, the guy's enthusiasm. You know, Morgan Wooten always would say to coaches, and I stood by it and I stand by it as an athletic director. He always would say, nothing great ever happens without enthusiasm. And, you know, when you look at Dino, you cannot think of anything but enthusiasm. You know, he loves to mix it up and get the stories going. But, you know, he's an incredible guy. I think the city owes him a lot. You know, he promotes a lot of people you know, Dino's, but he really wasn't one of the pickup guys or a thing. You know, I was up there all the time. And, you know, I got to put one of my best friends, Patrick Robinson, you know, his son's playing for Ole Miss right now, but, you know, a lot of people don't realize Pat's older brother, Junior, was just, you know, incredible athlete. He was playing in the CFL. And one thing that was awesome about Junior, he wasn't one of the greatest basketball players ever, but he was a freak athlete. And Junior had the time for, you know, he knew I was Pat's friend, and you know, he was like Shaker. He always had kind words and positive things to say. And, you know, he'd always say to me, you know, I love the way you're working out, keep doing it. And, you know, those people like that, I remember. You know, Ray Darling was the same kind of way. And there was a couple of Huntley Hill, you know, I didn't really interact with him, but I loved kind of trying to play against him. You know, Guelph had a lot of good players during that time. And so I was fortunate to, you know, I was fortunate, but I also, you know, my parents still live in the same area of the city, up on Willow and Applewood. And, you know, my parents weren't saying, oh, go play basketball, go do this. You know, I'd get on my bicycle and bike all the way over to the university. And I pushed myself. Nobody else was telling me to go and play. And that's what I say to my daughter. Listen, if you don't have it in here, no matter what I'm going to say is going to motivate you. And, you know, I put myself in that position to meet those guys. And I'd have to put also too, Otis Delaney. I met Otis through Shaker. And I remember Shaker, and this is before all the internet or any of this stuff. And Otis has such a reputation as an athlete and a defensive player. I remember Shaker saying, that guy's probably the best defensive player in the country. And Otis always had a lot of time for me. We're still good friends to this day. I followed his path. I went to University of Windsor for Teachers College like him. He was a big instrumental person in regards to academics for me, to kind of just saying to me, hey, get your butt together and get through school. But I met Otis through being up there as well, because he would come back, and his mother lived in Cambridge at the time, and we played pickup with him in the summer. So
I have one last question, then I'll have Shake clean it up. But there's a rumor that during your period, that one person won 6 rings, Dave Haywood. Is that true? He said he won rings from grades 8 all the way through to high school. His teams never lost. Did you guys ever beat them in grade school?
Oh, God, man, I don't know. I mean, Ross, they did win. I don't know, rings. I don't know what's he talking about rings. I ended up playing semi-pro football, and I got a championship ring with the Tri-City Outlaws, but I don't know what rings he's talking about. But I don't know, man. If that's what he claims, good on him. I mean, I remember those guys, Lindon. I played at Lourdes in 8th grade, and we used to play King George, which, had a lot of those Ross guys. And I can't remember if we beat them. We had some good games against them. And I think, when you and Sal Vella coached us, I think we had some pretty good games against them. I was sad. I had Terry and Sal for a year as a coach, and I feel like I really learned a lot. And, Terry was pretty young in his coaching days back then. And I learned a lot. I really wish you could have coached me for, the next couple of years. I think it would have really helped me and everyone else that was at GCVI at the time. But, that's a whole other chapter of, bad athletic directors and bad coaches. Or I'm thankful for you and Sal. You guys, you and Sal did an awesome job. You had quite a bunch of characters in regards to us. But I think you really molded us. And, a lot of the lessons that I learned from you guys, I put in coaching now. I'm very thankful.
I'll leave it to Shake to close it up.
Oh, okay, Terry. Well, Jason, I'm so happy that we got this opportunity to chat. And you mentioned one thing that sits very closely to me after having started this Ball for All program that I run. You were talking about helping poor people in Mexico. When did you start getting that kind of philanthropic bend to yourself? And what led to you wanting to help people who weren't maybe in the same advantaged spot that you were?
My mother had a cousin who was a Scarborough Foreign Mission in Dominican Republic. And he did a lot. He did a lot with the poor people. And I was always inspired by his work. And I was very fortunate to, just have a relationship with him when I was younger. He was, just a real role model to me. And it was interesting. Years later, it was one of the main reasons why I went to the Dominican Republic. He had passed away at the time, but he was huge in the Dominican. He was from a city called Bani, and he worked and lived. His church was in a place called Barrancones, and it's a very poor area in Bani. And he was very close with, I don't know if you ever remember Miguel Tejada. He was a baseball player for the A's. He was an American League MVP one year. Vladimir Guerrero, many. Miguel Tejada, I met him, and it was awesome just what he said about my mom's cousin, and how much he gave and what an inspiration he was. And I went all over the DR when I lived there as an athletic director, and I would just, in passing and speaking Spanish, I would mention his name, and people like, yeah, I know Padre Juan, and it was amazing. And so when I was in university, there was a ad up. It was through the Catholic Church, but I wasn't going down there because of the Catholic Church. I was going down there because I wanted the experience. And, I signed up. I had to do some fundraising, and I went there, and I was in the state, working in the state of Guerrero and Morelos and Guerrero. And, now Guerrero's, it's a really tough state in regards to dealing with the cartel. The cartel back then really was more underground. And so when I went there, man, it was really it was kind of like a change in the chapters of my life, because I didn't make the best decision when I transferred schools in regards athletically. And so it was kind of the first time in my life that I wasn't playing sports. And, I saw this ad and I looked it up, and I had the opportunity. And when I went down there, it was a humbling experience. You see people that have absolutely nothing, and they have a, just unbelievable heart. And, it's incredible that we tend to think, especially in this time of COVID, we tend to focus what we don't have instead of focusing on what we do have. And I think that was a humbling experience for me when I was younger. Being there is, we are so fortunate in Canada, and it just opened my eyes. And, the countries that I first started to work in Mexico and Philippines and Dominican, man, I always made a point to try to reach out and I taught kids that were extremely from affluent and wealthy backgrounds. So I never let that and I still don't ever let that go to my head. I know where I'm from, and I know the experiences that I've had. And I think that, that was really important for me in my life. I went there for two summers, and, really changed the way I thought and changed really who I was. And I think it was an incredible time in my life.
All right. That's a great answer. And certainly in concluding, it looks to me like all the travel and all the education did serve as a great experience and education in itself for you. So carry on, man. That's fantastic.
If you guys don't mind, I've said it to you before. I'm thankful to both of you. Appreciate everything you've done, and I always think it takes people in every chapter of your life to help you out, and I really appreciate everything that you guys have done and that you're still doing. You can just see the elevation of basketball. I met Natalie Upshaw while I was working at Notre Dame basketball camp. Came back at Christmas and went to a basketball game and met her. And we were kind of just talking about Guelph, and, the first two names that come up are you two. And, you guys have had a profound effect on a lot of kids, and, starting with me back in the late 80s till now. And I think there should be a lot of kids and parents thankful for all that you guys do. And again, I'm super appreciative. My mom was at, what's the grocery store downtown? Market Fresh. My mother's in the 70s, and this is a couple years ago. She called me and she said, I was in Market Fresh, and there was a big board that said Shake True Hoops. And Shaker came up to me and pointed, your name was on the board. She was so proud.
That's awesome.
So I thank you both. I thank you both. And every time I come back to Guelph, I try to catch up with you guys. And again, thankful.
Well, thank you. And we'll get in touch again.
No doubt. Hey, Terry, you guys off the record, don't be telling Dino that I said he was a bad referee. I won't hear the other.
I won't tell the super fan. I tell him every day he's a bad ref, and he still gets mad at me. It's just the super fan. But I'll say this, Jay, really appreciate you having me on. I would love that for myself and Shake, because Shake and myself have done some international travel together. I would love to come over to Poland and do a camp with you when COVID's done and bring Shake True Hoops on the road. You know what I mean? As long as you got a place for us to sleep, we'll be able to get there. It'd be a great experience.
Come on down, guys. We'd love to have you guys. Our school is connected with the U.S. Embassy. It would be great to have you guys. Our kids would love it, and I think it would be a great overall experience. So when COVID's done, invitation, come on over.
All right, let's chat about that.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Take care, guys. Take care, Jay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.